pay a heavy price for every system we take from them. But in the end, that's the only way to drive the Dominion out of the Alpha Quadrant, and that is the goal we all share. Klingons, humans, and Romulans.
There you go, people. Starfleet is a humans-only club. As we discussed in the last episode, the Federation Alliance had finally decided to take the fight to the Dominion. This is telling given that the war had been raging for quite a while, and only now was Starfleet Admiralty considering getting serious about striking back. The perfect moment, for Starfleet at least, would come after the Romulans had entered the war. The Dominion was finally starting to feel the strain, its forces being stretched thinner and thinner. Due to this, Chintoka had become a weak point in their defenses, one discovered by Benjamin Sisko. However, while invasion plans were being devised by the Alliance, Dominion strategists had decided to counter this weakness by installing planetary defenses. These plans were discovered by the Alliance, and now the game was afoot as it was a race against the clock. The Dominion needed to finish the emplacements before Starfleet and its allies arrived, or the system would be lost. One of the main questions that persists is that of the tactics themselves. We know that the Alliance opts to do a full frontal assault, but why? If there are turrets that can't move, just use ordnance to handle the problem. There may be a couple of reasons that this didn't happen. First, they would need to set up the ships to do the long-range attack, and there were still defense forces for Chintoka. Bombing the platforms from afar could make the ships sitting ducks. Additionally, it would take time to target the individual emplacements and destroy them. This would buy time for Dominion reinforcements, something the Alliance could ill afford. Also, it probably goes against Starfleet ethos, at this time at least. Bombing someone into submission, again at this point, would still be something that officers probably found ghastly. The most likely reason is that both sides were hoping to roll the hard six. It may have been feasible to take out the emplacements from afar, but if Starfleet and its allies could get to the system before the emplacements were even active, blowing them to hell and back at close range would be much faster and would allow for ground invasions to occur. It would also explain why the Alliance would send such a large fleet. Klingons, Romulans, and Starfleet would send a massive flotilla. It consisted of at least 20 Klingon birds of prey, 8 Vorcha-class attack cruisers, 11 D'Deridex-class warbirds, 5 Akura-class starships, 5 Galaxy-class starships, 6 Excelsior-class starships, 5 Miranda-class starships, and at least 1 Defiant-class ship. This would be against 5 Jem'Hadar attack squadrons, or roughly 16 Dominion starships. The Federation Alliance had a 3-to-1 advantage. However, the Dominion wasn't stupid. The Klingons would be the closest to the Jem'Hadar once arriving in the system and would move to engage. The Dominion squadrons wouldn't fight but engage in suicide runs, destroying or crippling 15 Klingon vessels. 53% of the Klingon force and nearly 1/4 of the entire fleet itself for those who are keeping count. Starfleet and the Romulans would move to engage the platform specifically, causing minimal damage. Unfortunately, once the vessels were in between all of the emplacements, the Cardassian tech would activate and begin eviscerating both Romulans and humans alike. Here's an interesting theory. What if the emplacements had been operational before the fleet moved in? What if Damar waited until they were in the crossfire and then just activated the weapons? We have no definitive answers one way or the other, but it seems like a hell of a tactic and one I could see Damar doing. The weapon platforms would devastate many of the ships, and this would include Vorchas, 2 Akuras, 1 Miranda, 2 Excelsior, and 2 D'Deridex ships. Probably more. Assuming these were the only losses, that meant that it would move up to 22 ships, or 36% of the overall Federation Alliance strength. The entirety of the fleet was almost lost, if not for the crew of the Defiant, who were able to trick the emplacements into thinking their own power source was an enemy ship. You know, as you do. It's interesting that the Federation Alliance's weapons couldn't penetrate the generator's shielding, and they had to rely on the Cardassian emplacements to do that. And yet those same Cardassian emplacement platforms weren't able to breach the Defiant's shielding. With the weapon platforms disabled, Alliance troops would begin landing for invasions. While the end of the episode makes it feel like a great victory, ironically, it would be a constant battle for Starfleet to hold Chintoka. The Dominion would realign, and Chintoka space would never firmly be in the hold of the Federation Alliance, with ships engaging and disengaging in the system and sector the entire time. Effectively, this foothold was a powder keg just waiting to happen. But that'll be discussed later. What are your thoughts on the plans to attack Chintoka? Did the Alliance play it right? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.